guys, and welcome back to the Layah Heilpern show powered by Icon Plus. It's super good to have all of you guys back again. I have some really interesting news announcements for you. So I'm actually hosting a panel discussion for Icon Plus. It's called The Future of Decentralized Finance. And you'll hear from DeFi experts like Nicholas Merton, Alex Mashinsky, Daiki Lee, and DeFi Dad as they discuss the current state of DeFi, what we can expect from mass adoption, and whether that will even come. So guys, we definitely want you to tune in. That will be on November the 16th at 12 p.m. EST, live on my Twitter. So if you're following me, you won't miss it anyway. Also, I want to say thank you to my sponsors, BlockFi. I use them to earn up to 8.6% on my USDC. Also, I'm going to leave the link in the description. I've put it in the tweet. I'll put it in the YouTube because at the moment they're offering a cool offer whereby depending on how much you deposit, you can actually earn, I think it's up to $250. So if you click the link, it'll actually tell you how much you're eligible for. So that will be super cool for you guys. So definitely grab what money you are owed, basically. Anyway, so this is really exciting. I have a really cool guest today, somebody who is a new friend. I've recently been on his podcast, and I think we have a lot in common. So it is, of course, Koroush. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was just about to retweet and tell the audience that you and I are about to be bullish on Bitcoin together for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Did you retweet? Are they going to follow?
Yeah. Let's just say about to go live. Come hang out with
Layah. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
How are you? Thank you for joining.
Well, I am great. It's about the end, coming to the end of the workday, and really excited for this podcast. Been a while since I've been on one rather than hosting one.
Oh, okay. When were you last on one?
God, I can't even remember. It's been a good while. So glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And I'm actually super excited because you're obviously incredibly, well-read on everything crypto, everything Bitcoin. Of course you are. So, given everything that's gone on with the markets in the last 24 hours, this is going to be brilliant. So I want everyone just to stick around because we are going to find out what is going on with Bitcoin, what's causing the pump. We're going to find it all out. So we're going to talk all about it. But first, I do want to know, how did you initially get into crypto? Because we did find out that actually you and I come from a similar background from where we're from. We grew up. I think we have some mutual friends when we were kids. So how did you get into crypto?
Well, so getting into crypto, actually, unfortunately, our mutual background doesn't come into it. It involved one of my friends who works at a company that was involved in the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. He came to me and he said, hey, listen, Ethereum, it's the new internet. And this was at a point where, to scroll it back a little bit further, after graduating university, I got lucky and started a business at university, which did pretty well. And then from that point, I was jumping from business to business, looking for opportunities. Every time I found something where I could make money or something I'd enjoy, I'd do it. And then so he comes to me at a point where I'm looking for my next thing. And he says, listen, this is going to be the new internet. I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. Because he's a computer scientist. So he was extremely excited. This was at a point right at the end of 2016. So I get a little bit into it. And then it starts rocketing up. And I'm like, okay, time to get really into this. And having a mathematics background, trading really appealed to me. So the journey really started with gambling that transitioned into trading. And eventually I just fell down the rabbit hole.
Oh, I love that. So the rabbit hole, we're going to get to that because I definitely want to know about that red pill moment. But I want to talk a little bit more about you because we're often seeing, your technical analysis and things like that. But like I said, we do have a similar-ish background, but tell me a little bit more about where you're from. I think we spoke earlier and you said, actually, English isn't your first language, which is insane because it sounds like it is.
Oh, thank you. Well, no, actually, till I was 5 or 6 years old, I only spoke Farsi. And then when I went to school, it was a bit weird because I had to learn English. All the other kids, I couldn't even communicate with the other kids. So, but it didn't even matter because we still.
So how old were you?
I can't remember the first age you go to school at. So I think it was 5 or 6. Okay. When do kids start going to school exactly?
Yeah, like 5 or 6. In the UK, it's 4 or 5. Yeah.
So 5 or 6, I'm going to school and I had an extra English teacher who was helping me understand. But honestly, it didn't even matter. The other kids don't care about needing to communicate with each other. It's just like, oh, you're a person, I'm a person. We like to have fun. Let's have fun together. So yeah, I had to slowly learn English, and eventually it got a little bit better than the Farsi. And it's actually why I gravitated towards maths, because the maths lessons were always easy because that's a universal language. But when it came to
Ah,
the English and the speaking, that was a lot more difficult.
that makes sense. How's your Farsi now? Can you still remember it?
Oh yeah, I can read and write and speak fluently. So definitely put a lot of time. Parents made me go to, well, they made me or did me a favor of making me go to the Saturday schools where I'd learn to read and write, and definitely fantastic. Doing those sorts of things, I feel it unlocks different neural connections or areas of the brain. It really helps you process stuff better and see the world, or communication rather, in a different light, because you see parallels and also complete differences between the way different languages communicate.
That's really interesting. I think I totally agree with you. A lot of people say the most incredible gift you can give your kids is to be bilingual, or so on and so on, just to learn multiple languages for the reason that you said, not just because it's simply convenient, but for the reason that you said. So that's really interesting because English wasn't one of your strengths. You gravitated towards maths just because numbers are universal.
Mhm.
So you started, going down that maths route. Is that why now today you do technical analysis rather than fundamental analysis, or what? Because a lot of people get into crypto, even people like myself, for example, like I do trade, but not like you do. And technical analysis, I would never say is my specialty whatsoever. So why technical analysis?
Well, precisely for the reasons that you said, and to expand on it a little more, the market is really competitive. Everyone is out there trying to exploit these inefficiencies, and you need to gravitate towards your strengths, where you think you have an edge. So naturally, when I first got into the market, I'm like, where do I have an edge? Well, I've done a statistics-focused maths degree, so maybe I can translate this price data better than the majority of other people can. And that made sense to me. So logically, I gravitated towards that rather than trying to understand the fundamentals of these companies, where I competing less so on the language perspective, but more in the technical perspective. Like, I'm not a computer scientist. I don't understand the intricacies of a blockchain company or a blockchain network at the same level as an expert would, who also happens to have other fundamental analysis skills. So the technical analysis made more sense to me, and I gravitated towards that. Though this year, things changed a little bit. A few traders, which I really respect, pushed me towards incorporating more discretion in my systems. They said, Koroush,
Okay.
been in the crypto markets now, consumed in it for 3 years at the time. Now it's closer to 4. And you now have an edge in discretion, because I've spent so much time in the space. I've spent so much time consistently talking to people. I'm now fortunate enough to have a network where I get to speak to some of the most incredible people in the space as well. And there is a bit of an edge in that. Plus the subconscious processing that comes with being able to see the price data and the charts again and again and again. So that's actually what led to me wanting to start a newsletter, get a team behind me that can properly process this information. And yeah, so initially super technical focus, the maths led me there. Now a lot more towards the fundamental side, still maths focused, but I value discretion hugely, because without getting too far off track, the topic of AI comes into it. And I don't mean like actual super advanced AI. I just mean super high level algorithms that can develop upon themselves. They're going to eventually replace basic systems. So if you're trading, I don't know, moving average crossovers, there are going to be systems out there that can instantly find your edge and take it out way better than you can. But if you're incorporating discretionary elements, then maybe there's a few subconscious stuff going on, a bunch of variables which your mind is processing that can't easily be replicated by AI, even if that is as simple as pure randomness. So for the longevity reasons, it just made sense.
Okay, so are you sort of saying that you innovated at a really smart time, at a time whereby you didn't need to innovate? The whole idea that there came a time whereby, back in the day, Industrial Revolution or whatever, machines started replacing actual men in factories. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Not that I think it's going to happen in the near future, but
Yeah, of course.
I really enjoy trading, and it's something I'd like to be able to do as a lifetime career. And I
Hmm.
don't want to be putting all my eggs in a basket that can be easily replaced by programs, especially with the way the future's moving, the direction we're moving towards. It made more
Yeah.
sense to focus on bring those discretionary elements into the system. And again, what I mean by discretionary is it's not based on technical triggers. It's not like this moving average goes here, or this level breaks with this candle close and I enter. It just means I decide, like, does this feel right to me? Does this fit into what I've seen before?
Yeah, I totally understand. And actually, that's really interesting that you mentioned this, because I'm doing an interview tomorrow with a company who, I guess you could sort of look at them as like the futuristic financial advisors. So they, as individuals, are not financial advisors. They use AI to give their clients the advice. So similar in terms of, like, it's going down a path whereby your edge could sort of not be so edgy anymore, basically. So I like what you've done. I think that's super cool. Like, that's kind of one of the reasons I guess I brought you on the show, because I can tell you've got that entrepreneurial mindset. You're innovating, and I love it. But I want to talk to you about this red pill moment, because you talk about going down that rabbit hole. Everybody sort of says, I had that moment when I realized, the traditional system was just collapsing and all this stuff or whatever. So tell me about your red pill moment. And yeah, we'll start with that. Tell me about your red pill moment.
Sure. Well, I wouldn't pinpoint one particular moment where I was like, oh my God, Bitcoin is going to change everything. I need to dedicate my life to it. It's a
Yeah.
little more subtle. With business and making a living in society, one of the best ways and consistent ways to do it is make sure you actually deliver value. So say you start up a business. One of my previous ones was I was arbitraging prices of kitchenware goods. So I was bringing kitchenware over. There was a discrepancy between pound, euro, and I had a good connection, which made it really cheap for me to do that. But it was temporary. I wasn't really delivering much value. I was just exploiting one inefficiency and a good connection, and something like that fades. But I thought if I build a career and kind of societal contribution around something which I can truly believe in, which I think can, my logo is build richer lives. That's what I stand behind. And pushing crypto, I believe right now builds richer lives. So it can replace a really broken financial system. It's the best solution I've seen so far. So I'm not switched on and taken a pill and I think Bitcoin's going to be the one. It's just the best I've seen right now. It's a strong opinion I hold loosely. So if a better solution comes along, or there's a point where I'm like, oh, Bitcoin might not be the one that's going to replace this, because we know there's better technology out there than Bitcoin, things which do the job on a technical level better, but Bitcoin has that brand name. Bitcoin has that, no one really knows who founded it and stuff. So Bitcoin still has that about it, but say there comes a point where there's a new coin with a market cap bigger than Bitcoin's, and it has like values to it, which we can put across to say are similar to Bitcoin's as well. Then perhaps I will also be 50% Bitcoin, 50% that. Then if the data suggests that that is going to be the one which is going to do what we want Bitcoin to do, which is help take away, or crypto and blockchain as a whole, take away a lot of these inefficiencies from the financial system, then I'll gravitate towards that. So it's a strong opinion, loosely held. I wouldn't say I've taken a pill and now Bitcoin is absolutely everything.
Okay, so two things there. First thing I want to ask you about is, you sort of said a broken traditional financial system. So number one, I do want to delve into that. And secondly, if I don't ask you, remind me to ask you. You mentioned, if a new coin comes along, then, and it's better and it proves to be better and so on and so on, then, you'll happily sort of, move towards that essentially. So that will brings me on to DeFi. So I will ask you about DeFi and Yearn Finance and all that stuff that happened over the summer. But in terms of looking at that broken traditional system, talk to me about why it's broken, because I often find it's very difficult to sort of explain this. I'm in some ways, I'm kind of grateful for everything that's happened this year, just because, we've seen this ridiculous printing of money, which has given me a fantastic tool to sort of say to my friends and my family, and I could sort of say, look, they're printing all this money. The money that's sitting in your bank account is just being devalued as we speak. So other than that, you know, what would you say is wrong with the system?
So we can start with the basic printing, and that is just, it comes in under the form of inflation, which the majority of people don't even understand what inflation is. They don't understand that if you keep your cash in a bank account, it's going to devalue, and in like 30 years, it's going to be worth half of what it is right now. So that's the one side, which you covered. And then there's the other side where there are these entities in place that their only purpose is to keep track of records. It's to move money from location A to location B in a very, very inefficient way. And their only purpose is to make money. Their purpose isn't to add value to society. And we have a better solution, but these systems are so firmly in place that it doesn't seem like they want to go. I mean, take a look at the new FCA regulation in the UK. The regulation says that you can't do derivatives trading on crypto because it's dangerous. Well, wait, why crypto? What's the difference between crypto derivatives trading and any other asset? So,
and just to jump in, for those that don't know derivatives trading, just give us like a quick one-liner.
Oh, sure. Derivatives means you're not trading the actual product. You are trading something, an instrument, which represents that product. And this allows you to take advantage of things like leverage, expiry dates, if you're looking at futures, and a bunch of other complex stuff. But all you need to know is you're not actually trading the asset, just an instrument which represents that asset.
And yes, that was banned.
Well, yeah, it's a blanket ban out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere. It's actually been in court for like 2 years. But yeah, you know, it's sprung on now. On January 6th, that's in place. And the reasoning just doesn't make sense to me. I'd love for someone to be able to explain it to me, because I've asked around of people smarter than myself, more knowledgeable in these fundamental fields. Remember, I am a trader at heart. That is my speciality. That's the core of my content. But yeah, so that's getting banned, but then all these other instruments aren't getting touched or banned, let alone gambling. I mean, I'm pretty sure gambling itself hurts more people than derivatives crypto trading.
I have actually, someone's just quickly asked a question, which I might put up on the screen. Maybe you can answer this. So it says, will I be affected by this if I trade futures on Binance and am from the UK? Fantastic question.
It is a fantastic question. Yes, my answer is speak to a lawyer. I'm not about to give legal advice on a live stream.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, I mean, I think, look, like, I think it's really interesting when you say, I think it's really interesting when you sort of say it's out of nowhere. And I understand what you mean when you say it's out of nowhere. Yes, there has been a 2-year court case, but in terms of its reasoning, in terms of, you know, as if something sort of happened to Bitcoin, you know, we sort of found out that Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme or something. Do you know what I mean? It's not quite like that. And overall,
it's an irrational attack. It feels like an irrational attack on it. Yes. I'm sure there's rationale behind it, just not what they're saying it is.
100%. And for me, I think this is a classic example of being afraid of the unknown. You know, when something new comes about, and sort of seeing how much, I guess, momentum is behind it, I guess it sort of seems like a natural kind of thing. This isn't sort of the first time that we've seen governments, central authorities do these kinds of things, essentially.
Oh, definitely not. And again, like I said, definitely not my area of expertise. This is why I get a team behind me to help me out with these fundamental sides of things. But I agree. It's a financial revolution, isn't it? You're not going to get a financial revolution without another side fighting back and trying to stop it, or at least control it. I don't know if you know Cantor Clark. Something he said, which I really enjoyed in a tweet, was they're not trying to stop it. They know they can't. They're just trying to make sure you play it by their terms. Think about it.
Yes.
Closed down. All these exchanges are getting attacked. UK is shutting down derivatives exchanges. Hey, what if they come back just on their terms? This is how you're allowed to do it under our controlled rules and regulation.
And regulation. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think that a clear example of that was when banks were now being able to hold your crypto. I mean, everyone was so excited over that. But for me, it was just like such a weird sort of like slap in the face. I would just never do that, because the whole idea is that we're moving away from that system. And now we're sort of centralizing something which is supposed to be decentralized. It's just another version. Go on, jump in.
So I'd say there are some disadvantages to the complete decentralization, because if it's completely under your control, it's also completely your responsibility.
Yes, agreed, which I'm going to get to. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead then. Well,
Yeah.
if you get to it, I don't want to disrupt the flow of what you had planned.
Well, yeah, go on. Actually, I was going to get to it now. So speaking of people having to be responsible for their private keys, right? To talk about it at its absolute core. Do you, we talk about this revolution, we talk about banks sort of not being very good, this traditional system not being very good. So being in this space, do you think we then have a moral obligation? Do you think we have a duty to sort of wake people up and educate them and sort of tell them what's happening? Or do you think some people are just happier not having to take so much responsibility? Because it's a lot, all your finances on one, one wallet. Well, not one wallet, you can have several wallets, different coins, but one key. It's a lot. Do we have a duty to wake them up?
I think there's two parts to that I'm going to approach separately. Firstly, the kind of the difficulty and the immense responsibility that comes with it. Now, the solution isn't to figure out who can and cannot handle that responsibility. It's to make it more user-friendly. So, for example, I don't know if you've ever tried to use the hardware wallets we have right now. The UI is terrible on most.
I use Ledger.
Ledger. You know how difficult that can be to set up? Imagine someone who's not tech savvy trying to set something like that up. But there are cool, innovative companies like, say, Engrave, for example, that are trying to make the user interface so easy that anyone can use it. So to bring it to mass adoption, to accomplish that, I think the solution is to make it a no-brainer, to make it so easy to use that anyone can do it. Now, that's not easy to do. I mean, you have to, we need creative, super intelligent people, not just from the tech side, but who understand people and how they interact with these things to make it so everyone can use it. And to answer the second part of your question, whether or not we have a moral obligation, that's quite a difficult question. I wouldn't say anyone has a moral obligation to wake people up, because when you say wake them up, it kind of, I feel, and I don't mean any offense by this, that we both arrogantly assume that we have the right answer. And I don't think the world is black and white enough to fully know what the right answer is, but we do have not the obligation, but it's a very positive thing to do in society to educate people on it and give them information in an unbiased way. So that's why I love education. That's why I do education so much on my channel. I give the information in an unbiased way, and that's my way of waking people up, but in a non-intrusive way where I'm kind of saying, this is the way things are, there's no other right answer. I'm saying, here's the information. Now compare it to the other information you have and try to come to the right answer from it.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And I think it's also because we're so early, we don't really know if Bitcoin technically is the right answer. Like you were saying, if something new came along that was wholeheartedly better in every single way, and I even mean it to its brand, right? And its user experience and its TPS and its, scalability, everything, then you would move towards it. So I do have a question actually, which is what I was going to ask you earlier. What before we talk about the actual state of the markets, before we talk about Bitcoin pumping, PayPal and all that fun stuff, what is your opinion on the coins that we've seen in the last few months? Like, let's look at Yearn Finance, for example, and the way that sort of just shot up throughout August. Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, the DeFi craze has been remarkably similar. I don't know, were you around in 2017, Layah?
To the ICO. I was literally just getting into it, but I know all about it. So it was the boom and so on and so on.
It was insane. You could pick anything you want and the number goes up. You make money on it. And I feel the DeFi craze is extremely similar to that, except on steroids. Very similar themes have come up. Like certain words do really well. If anything has anything to do with Polkadot, if anything has the word like yearn dot something or similar sounding to something else which is done well, it starts doing really well.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
You can actually trade it like this. If you've seen, if you were around in 2017, you know that you just catch on to these right themes. You make sure the market sentiment is still the same. And while the market sentiment is bullish, you just ride it and you don't get greedy. You manage your risk, and it's like printing money. It is insane. Now, again, easier said than done because the nuances and the mental challenge is immense. But the DeFi craze right now, technology aside, where I can really add value, especially to the listeners, is the market cycle. What's happening here is similar to a bubble, and it is a bubble. I mean, you've seen these things go up to absurd values and come back down, but the thing with a bubble is you never know what the top is, and people use the word bubble as if it's negative. Now, bubbles are great. You can make insane amounts of money on a bubble. Just don't be stupid, don't be greedy, and use tested systems, gain experience, take your time. So my thoughts on it are that the technology is awesome and it is game changing, because some of the things we have developed, the Oracle systems that are coming out, the way the blockchains are learning to communicate with each other, it's really exciting, and DeFi has immense potential. But these numbers going up, these values, this is just human irrationalness. It's irrational exuberance. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not anything to do with the actual value it's providing. It's just the perceived value which people are doing and that people are giving to it, and they're getting really excited about it as well. So I think this is a bit of a bubble, very similar to the ICO craze, but DeFi itself is really awesome.
Okay, so just really quickly on that point then, DeFi itself is really awesome. Do you mean long term, are we actually going to get to a point where people are literally taking mortgages out on the blockchain?
I mean, I think there are
lending and borrowing
platforms out where you can, there are platforms that out there where you can get serious amounts of money just by signing up to them. So DeFi lending already exists, but the question is, can we trust them yet? Because
that's what I'm saying.
It's two issues. There's one, can you trust it? Because you've seen there's also been more rug pulls than, I think it's been worse than 2017 with regards to rug pulls and the number of steps. And the average person, when you say mortgages, people can take mortgages out. Its capabilities are there, but are you going to trust that with that amount of money? And is the average person going to be able to navigate the systems? I mean, even Uniswap is too complicated for most people who can barely use exchanges, let alone Uniswap, connecting it to their MetaMask wallet, like all of that stuff. It's the barrier to entry. It comes back down to UI. UI is such a big barrier to entry that no, right now it's not going to happen, but the technology is there, the capabilities are there. And that's why I'm so big on pushing the adoption. What we should be doing is just bringing more talented people into the space. That's why positivity is so important. Layah, you love it as well, like spreading that positive energy around. And it's really important because we want to get more talent into the space. We want to get more incredible people into this space so they can innovate, they can make these technologies easier to use and integrate them into society.
You have such a warm energy. I think it's so important to, doing exactly what you said. You explain it so well. I think you're such a great guest, honestly. You have such a great energy. Yeah, seriously, I think you explain it pretty well. Oh, well, thank you.
You
I think you explain it. Well, there you go. Well, look, listen, I think you explain it really, really well. And I think you're totally right. You can take that money right now, but user experience is just such a problem. I've actually got my brother and my mum on Crypto.com, and I love the platform. I use it, but it's a bit of a nightmare, that user experience. BlockFi are actually one of my sponsors, and I think they've got a great user experience. But there's certain platforms do certain different things like Uniswap. It's difficult. It's not a great UI. But listen, I want to talk about markets. Go for it.
I am a big fan of Crypto.com. I think the platform is pretty awesome. So I personally had a very pleasant experience with it. Though, there are a lot of platforms and UI issues out there for sure.
Yeah, no, Crypto.com I use and I love, but actually, for the average person, it's just a little bit complicated. Just a little bit. Yeah, I think so. I was trying to explain it to my mum and my brother, and they get it now. It's not a problem. But like, they couldn't understand the difference between having an MCO card and then having a fiat wallet. They found that holding fiat in two different places was a very weird kind of experience for them. And I kept having to
understand the concept of, wait, this is different to this, and wait, it's USDT, it's not USD.
Yeah, I was saying to my brother, true Great British pounds, and he thought that I was calling, pounds true Great British pounds. Like, no, that's a stable coin. Exactly
true Great British pounds.
Literally, like being really annoying, and yes, exactly, being really legal about it. That's what he thought. And so It is even like the simplest products which I use and I love. I think they're still they still could be easier, basically. But look, let's talk about Bitcoin. It's been an incredible 24 hours. What is going on? I will get to PayPal. It's not entirely because of PayPal, just because I think we were sort of seeing things on the run up anyway. PayPal was obviously a part of that, but talk to me about it. What is up with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm just getting the chart up in the corner so
Yeah.
I can look.
What are we, 12.8 or am I imagining? Oh my God, 12.9.
12.9, almost at 13.
Yeah.
So with Bitcoin,
Teach us.
it is, now here's an area where I can give a lot more specific insight. So Bitcoin has been, since the dip down, the Corona dip, if you will, in March, in a very strong uptrend. And the only time this uptrend paused was when we got to around the mid-August region. Now, mid-August, we had a little bit of a dip. It was no longer that clear, like up, slight low, up again, slight low. Technical analysis is so easy when you just zoom out and you look at it from a really simple perspective. So what ended up happening in August was we went up, we had a slight low, and then we dipped through that, and we had another low here. Then we managed to hold this, and then if you zoom in on the lower time frames, you can see that uptrend started to build again. And now what we're seeing is the continuation of that uptrend. So we had a small uptrend build, break resistance at around, say, first major one to break was around 11,400, and again set that as a support and follow it very strongly. And now we've set yearly highs. Now, one thing in all crypto, and this is some alpha which I always like to share, one of the best ways to make money and build systems is to bet on crypto trends overextending. That means bet that if a trend starts, it's going to continue going longer than you think it's going. Obviously, go back test and test your systems. Don't copy what I'm saying, but that is a really, really great way to build a system. And then when it's ranging and it's not trending, just stay out of the market. Right now, we are in an uptrend. Right now, I call this easy mode. Just buy the dip, and worst case, you lose a bit. Best case, Bitcoin does what it usually does and continues going up parabolically. And what I do is I just compound that position until eventually I get invalidated. I stay out the market. I try to catch a trend. Sometimes on the downtrend, it's quite nice to catch because you get a violent fall down. But yeah, right now I think we're in a parabolic uptrend period. And if I'm wrong, then I lose a bit. If I'm right, it continues and you keep compounding and make far more than you could lose. So the upside severely outweighs the downside right now, and it has for a little while, since around the say 11K area. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Bitcoin right now.
Okay, so like you said, we saw what happened back in March, due to the whole coronavirus news. Incredible resilience, incredible bounce back. So what do you think is going on in terms of the halving? So do you think that the halving has anything to do with this? A lot of people sort of said that around now, moving on to Q1 of 2021 is when we should start to see the effects of the halving. So has that got anything to do with
it? Give me any piece of news and I'll kind of show it to you in the charts. So when you take, if the price is going up, you can find loads of good news which can tell you why the price is going up. The price going down, you'll find loads of good news which can tell you why the price is going down. And we spoke earlier about me using discretion and more of a fundamental analysis in my trading. I'm not using any one particular event. I'm taking the overall sentiment of the market, which is gathered from Twitter, media, people I speak to, and obviously the price data as well, having seen similar things before in the past, and my overall feeling. And I take this like aggregate view, combining lots of different factors. I don't isolate one piece of news and try predict what that's going to do. There are too many variables involved in trading and what goes into the price data to try pinpoint one event and say this one event is what's going to cause this, this, or this, outside of crazy events like Corona, where there's this like global visible panic. I would say that is a black swan event, which does not follow the rules I've set. But with everything else, there's just too many variables involved to try and narrow it down to that. And it becomes noise unless you try group it together and kind of use it in a systematic way. And what I do is the discretionary elements of my systems kind of combine all this news and help me make those decisions. Like, will I use this support right now? Do I think this resistance is going to break? Do I think this uptrend will continue a little more than usual? Do I want to up my risk a little bit? All of these slight discretionary decisions, that's how I incorporate it.
Okay, so that leads me on to a really interesting topic, actually, which is whether Bitcoin is a correlated asset. So there's this whole idea that it's a non-correlated asset. That's why people love it. You know, it's like the world can do what it will do, but Bitcoin will do what it does. That's quite funny. But it's not entirely a non-correlated asset, is it? It's an associated asset. What do they say?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I had the opinion that Bitcoin isn't correlated at all. But recently I had a conversation with trader Main, and Main has a very strong opinion that Bitcoin is extremely correlated to the dollar and the S&P. So he was telling me, yeah, there's a huge correlation. I think Bitcoin is just a risk on asset. What I'd like to do is sit down and literally take some like high-level statistical analysis, see exactly what level of correlation there is. But then again, you also run into the issue of, is it causation or is it correlation? Because like with Corona took everything down, right? Like if you look at every chart, everything's going down. So you can kind of make the argument that everything is correlated from that regard. But then when you think about it, it's the Corona causing it. It's not that they're really that correlated. Everyone's panicking. Everyone's trying
Agreed. Yeah.
Do I think there's correlation? To some degree, yes, absolutely. But in my own investment portfolio, I don't treat Bitcoin as extra risk on top of my stock exposure or my dollar exposure. Bitcoin is its own uncorrelated asset, though I definitely need to do a bit more research and statistical analysis on how correlated they are based on the price data. That would be my answer. Okay. No solid decision right now as to whether I am or not. I don't like to take strong positions when I don't have data to back it up.
Good. I like that. I respect that. I think too many people sort of take some huge opinions with no evidence or no sort of whatever. We've spoken about this before, so that's cool. I respect that. In terms of new all-time highs, then, I just want to get your opinion. You don't have to give me a wild prediction. You don't even have to give me a date, but I do want to talk about it. I know I won't do that to you, but I do want to talk about it in general and sort of understand this run that we're seeing now. Is this the bull run that's going to take us up to new all-time highs? Are we on that trajectory now? I think I was talking to somebody today, and I think they said like the entire market cap sort of that we're seeing right now resembles what it was before, as the bull run was starting back in 2017. So what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The reflection, the mirror right now, the mirroring is quite symbolic.
So I can definitely give an answer as to like people want to hear, like, do you think we're going to break 20K? It's not a yes or no. Think of it as like a meter, which kind of you slide across the meter as to how likely you think it is that it's going to happen. Right now, everything up until the one day suggests to me that it's very probable. If we get a weekly close above 13K, that becomes more probable. If we get the monthly close, that becomes again more probable. So what I do is what I meant by compounding my position. The more probable it gets, the more I add to my position, the more confident I get in my analysis. So right now, I think it's likely a weekly close would make me say yes. If I had to give a yes or no, will we see new highs? I'd say absolutely yes. How long will it take? Well, it's Bitcoin. We could see it in a couple of days. We could see it in a couple of months or a couple of years. No one knows for sure, and it's not that useful to know. What you want to do is learn how to position yourself to take advantage of it. So go study different strategies. You can do that. And that's not just through trading either. If you think Bitcoin is going to do really well in the future, do what Layah's done. Start a podcast in the space. That is Bitcoin exposure. Seriously, that is Bitcoin exposure. Go, if you're a marketer, go learn how to do marketing for a crypto firm. Whatever skills you have, the crypto space probably needs it. So you don't have to go try trade Bitcoin. There are a million different ways in which you can get involved and exposed to it. So yes, I do think Bitcoin is on an upwards trajectory. It's probable that we're going to see highs, especially if we get a nice weekly close, 13K, then 14K. Those are the key levels. Above 14K, my probability doesn't change that much. It's all fair game over there because we don't have that much recent price data. But yeah, that would be my answer. So yeah, I think it's on an uptrend, and get involved in the space, guys.
I love that. And actually, that's one of the main reasons why I love this space so much, because there's so much opportunity and room for innovation. I mean, we did talk about this, but before I got in this space, I was doing the whole traditional media side of things. And I found that there was such a lack of innovation. Things felt very stale. You know, I have these ideas that I can't really implement because the foundation is already built. So you're absolutely right. I was about to say spoken like a true trader, but actually spoken like a true entrepreneur, really. You know, this is a space where everybody has the opportunity to build something and add any kind of value that they're able to offer. So, you know, I think that's really cool. Speaking of, I want to quickly chat about PayPal. So what do you think? I'll quickly just give you my thoughts. My thoughts are very much what we said earlier. It's kind of like, if you can't beat them, then join them. And I think PayPal sort of have realized that. But what I will say is I don't think Bitcoin needs PayPal. I think PayPal needs Bitcoin.
So I think PayPal is definitely stronger than Bitcoin right now. If you were going to say like who's the most powerful, I don't like that platform at all. The fees are outrageous. I mean, it's convenient to use, but it's painful to use as well. So they're good for Bitcoin. At the end of the day, getting PayPal using Bitcoin, I mean, what Bitcoin,
yes, agreed.
30 million users, they have 300 million. I could be wrong on those exact figures, but it is great for Bitcoin. Getting this is adoption. This is an easy way. Think of all those users, they suddenly see Bitcoin in the app. 1% of them are like, oh, maybe I should Google Bitcoin. Another 1% of those, they fall down the rabbit hole. Then they go tell their friends. So it's great for Bitcoin that PayPal is getting involved. We absolutely don't need PayPal in the sense that we don't need the platform.
That's what I was saying.
But yeah, we need the audience. We do need the attention. We do need the adoption as well, because it is a form of adoption. Now we have another use case for Bitcoin. So it is great for Bitcoin in every single way. Do I like PayPal? No, absolutely not. So this is helping PayPal and Bitcoin. It's kind of like a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think I also don't really like PayPal. I don't use it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but PayPal generally, one of the best things to do is international bank transfers, right? But it's like, hang on, I've got crypto for that. Like, do you know what I mean? So I'm just sort of like, oh, I don't know. I find that kind of odd. I'm kind of managing just fine without PayPal. I think most people who are in crypto are managing just fine without PayPal. But in terms of
situations where I want to pay someone in Bitcoin and they ask for payment in PayPal, and I'm like, will you take Bitcoin? And they're like, I don't really know. So it's in those situations where it is actually useful. I think that was specifically with, I was getting a personal trainer at one point who was abroad, and I'm like, will you take payment in crypto? It'll be cheaper for you. You'll make more money. And he's like, I don't want to learn.
Nah, he should have done. He would have done so well if you'd paid him in that.
Oh yeah, he did. That money would have definitely been worth more today than it was back then.
When was back then?
This was a year and a half ago, maybe.
Damn, should have done it. What are your thoughts quickly then on alts? I know you've been talking about Link often. You know, I think we saw a lot of red across the board. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. You know, Bitcoin sort of sucking the life out of the alts, but they seem to be okay today. You think? I've heard you talk about very positive about Link.
So I'm a big fan of Link. More so the Link community, the Link itself. Honestly,
they're nice, aren't they? They're all right.
They're nice and no, they're passionate. Let's go with passionate.
Oh, okay.
The way I got involved in it was, I think I said something negative about Link once, and the Marines did not like that. They did not like that.
Well, I was just comparing to all the other communities, because there's a lot of aggressive ones. So I would say Link are on the mild side.
Yeah, they're friends. They're our friends. FRENS. They're definitely friends, and we love the Link community because, I mean, they're passionate about the first mover in the Oracle space. That is exciting. What Link does as a product is actually really exciting, and I get it. I get why people are so passionate about it. What is a little more difficult to understand is why they associate random monetary values to what it's worth. I honestly don't think the average person has the capabilities of determining whether Link fundamentally should be worth $10, $20, or $2,000. So that bit is a little bit irrational, but the excitement, the use case of the technology, that's incredible. That's awesome. Now, why do I like it? Oh my God, it's a dream to trade. Like what I told you, those trends stronger than they should. Well, Link is one of the biggest trenders out there. I mean, from $4 to $20, it was like printing money, because like I assume the uptrend's going to continue. All of my trades are going to assume that, and you keep winning as long as that extends. And then you lose like maybe 2 trades at the end, and then you just say, okay, uptrend might be over, and you stop trading. And it's that simple. So my love for Link comes from an awesome community. I like the fundamentals behind it. I think it's actually really exciting technology, and also it's a dream to trade.
Now, my final topic that I want to chat about, and we were going to talk a bit about DeFi, but I feel like we did cover that. I was going to ask you about NFTs, but we are tight on time, and I do have a more interesting topic, which I'm really excited to ask you about. So let's talk about the election. So you and I are both UK based, but who cares? So we've seen how the American presidential election, how, you know, when America gets a cold, the whole world sneezes, and I don't think Americans realize that. So what happens there matters to us. So, okay, how do you think this is going to affect the markets? How do you think this is going to affect the price of Bitcoin? I think I saw some technical analysis sort of saying, maybe it was Goldman Sachs, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was sort of saying that if there's a blue wave, so if the Democrats win, that could affect the crypto markets badly. I wondered if you had any thoughts on this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's start with America knows they're in power. They know the effects they have. They certainly do. They're aware that they are the global superpower, and everything they do affects the entire world. Now, going on to the actual elections themselves, well, I don't have any strong opinion over what specific effect will happen, depending on who wins. But I do have a strong opinion on the fact that we can expect volatility leading up to this event. So as we get close to it, you expect volatility, maybe pull your risk back a little bit. Maybe pay attention to who's tweeting what. Like if someone does some crazy tweet, by someone, we all know Trump does some crazy tweet. I mean, he said negative stuff about Bitcoin before. He's pumped the stock market. I mean, this is a funny thought, but like how different is what Trump is doing in the stock market right now to what the cartoon avatars do on Twitter? And sometimes I do myself, I can be guilty of it as well. Just splurt out bullish stuff about crypto or Bitcoin. Trump does the exact same thing. And well, we all know that influencers can have an effect on the market. Trump's the biggest influencer in the world. So yeah, he has influence on the market. The elections are a high volatility event. We can expect volatility going into it, but I have no specific thoughts as to what will happen if one person wins or what will happen if another person wins.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think any time of uncertainty, there will be that will be reflected in the markets. You know, when we talk about it not being a correlated asset, I think times like this will sort of see that it is just slightly correlated. But in the long run, no matter whether it's a red or blue win, I definitely just see Bitcoin doing Bitcoin. I don't think it's gonna affect it at all.
That's why we're in the space. Like we wouldn't be building careers in this space if we didn't believe Bitcoin is going to win no matter what, because it can see short-term fluctuations, but at the end of the day, it's been on an uptrend since inception. Its adoption is only increasing. Its use cases are only increasing. More and more infrastructure is being built around it. Society is needing it more and more. I mean, there are times where in Iran specifically, I know Bitcoin's price has been worth like 60K. Like 60K for Bitcoin, simply because people wanted to move out of whatever their currency is to get into Bitcoin. Anywhere it's a solution. It has uses, and that's only going up. So I expect the price to follow, not literally as in price is this now and it's going up, but the long-term trajectory with the ups and downs should be upwards. And that's why like a passive exposure to Bitcoin will benefit most people, in my opinion. But yeah, could be wrong. Definitely not financial advice.
Never financial advice. But actually, just finally, I do want to ask you, because you do have Iranian heritage. So what's the situation with Bitcoin in Iran? Do you know?
I actually don't know too much right now.
Okay.
I know it's popular. I know it's a solution for the crazy levels of inflation they're seeing there, but it's not. Yeah, I don't have any specific thoughts or knowledge on it, and I don't want to give misinformation, but I do know it has a purpose, just like it does in Venezuela and other countries where they're experiencing the similar things.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I think I was reading this week Bitcoin I think was soaring in Turkey just because of crazy highs, crazy high inflation rates. So yeah, I'd be really interested to see how it's going in Iran, particularly with the kind of government that they have and so on and so on. So, Koroush, I want to thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on. You've given us so much value, lots of knowledge from Bitcoin to DeFi. It's been brilliant. I want to thank you so much. Do you have any last words for our guests at all?
Yeah, thank you, Layah. It's been a pleasure. It's been really enjoyable, especially doing it live. I don't think I've done a live one before.
There you go. I didn't know that.
No live ones before. I hope the listeners enjoyed it. I hope you gained something of value. Remember, do your own research. There's no such thing as get rich quick. If you want to succeed in crypto, put the work in, actually study, do your due diligence. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Take care, and yeah, maybe follow me on Twitter as well.
For sure. Thank you so much. And I also, just before we end, so I don't forget, I want to give a quick shout out to Bitcoin Jimbo, guys. You guys should follow him. He does all my channel art. He's super talented. If you're looking for any art done, then go to Bitcoin Jimbo. Cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. Koroush, thanks for joining. And we'll see you all next Thursday. Bye-bye.